Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you, and thank you for watching. This is part 10 of my review of this book, There is a God by Anthony Flew. And then the part 9 I had stopped where I was discussing the fact that the finely tuned laws, the intertwined and very complex, very accurate laws that govern this universe point to a lawmaker. And that some scientists proposed another possible explanation for the presence of these complex and finely tuned laws and the intricate design in this universe, that maybe there are there's an innumerable number of universes out there with different laws and different designs, and that it is by chance and good fortune that our universe turned out to be that universe that is so hospitable and so conducive for life and for intelligent beings to emerge. I mentioned that this proposal of the possibility of an infinite number of universes, or what is called the multiverse hypothesis, is only a speculation. There is no physical, empirical evidence to support it, and science is based on observable, tangible evidence. And here, this is only a hypothesis and a speculation. Not only that, it is actually a metaphysical speculation. It is easier to imagine that there is a creator, a rational being, a superior mind, a knowledgeable entity that fashioned this universe, than to try to explain away this magnificent universe with all its complexity and impeccable design and all its beauty and all the other aspects that point towards a rational maker, knowledgeable maker, goal-oriented maker. It is easier to imagine that there is a creator for this universe than to imagine that there is an infinite number of universes out there floating, and that our universe just happened to be the one fortunate enough to have all these variables in just the perfect place and the perfect specifications, so as to allow it to be in the way that it is. So number one, this theory and hypothesis is based on pure faith and belief. It is metaphysical. There is no evidence behind it. So people who want to criticize theists that we rely on blind faith, actually this theory relies on blind faith and there is nothing to support it, while theists, people who believe in God, rely on tangible evidence, on an infinite number of observations, all pointing to the Creator. The arguments for God, as I mentioned at the end of part 9, are innumerable. And each one of them, if you consider it with sound reason and logic, the most plausible explanation behind the innumerable phenomena and observations that we see in this universe, the most plausible explanation is the one intelligent, knowledgeable, merciful, goal-oriented creator. I'm not saying that every argument is totally 100% conclusive. The arguments vary in their strength. But if you look at the cumulative strength of all the arguments, you can come to 100% conclusion that this universe, with all that's in it, from design to the existence of living beings, to the existence of conscious, intelligent, goal-directed beings, if you look at all this together and all these arguments, you can come to that conclusion very confidently. So for somebody to propose that just by chance there is an innumerable number of universes out there, and that we by chance are the lucky ones, we tell them, where is your evidence? And number two is that the number two objection that we have against that is that now you are relying on faith and you are criticizing us that we rely on faith while we rely on science and logic, in fact. And also, as Richard Swinburne states it, he says, it is crazy to postulate a trillion causally unconnected universes to explain the features of one universe. When postulating one entity, God will do the job. This makes perfect sense, and it actually, whatever he's stating right here, conforms with the basic principle of philosophy and reasoning, which is known as Occam's razor, or the law of parsimony. What does this law state? It states that the entities should not be multiplied without necessity. It is used for problem solving. Whenever there's conflicting hypotheses, this is how you choose between them. It is attributed to a philosopher by the name of William Occam. He states that the simplest solution is most likely the right one. So when you have one simple answer, and that answer is God, one intelligent being that fashioned this universe, why do you go on to postulate trillions and trillions and an infinite number of universes just to explain this one universe that we live in? And actually, they don't really answer the question. What they are doing by postulating all these universes, they are just pushing the question one step backwards. Because then we can ask them, where did all these different universes come from? If you had trouble trying to explain one universe with its laws and its various dimensions and specifications and the various phenomena and observations that are contained within it, now you are required to answer, where did an infinite number of universes come from, each one with its different design and different laws and different specifications? We argue and say that this hypothesis that they are postulating begs for a stronger explanation than just the one universe that we live in. Actually, if this hypothesis was true, then we have stronger reason to believe in God, because now they are claiming that this creator has, they are basically implicitly showing that there's a creator that created not just one universe but an infinite number of universes, and each one had different features. So now we are more in need for an explanation than our need for explaining one universe. Now we have to explain an infinite number of universes, and each one would require a creator, or one creator to explain all of them. So the three counter arguments we offer against the multiverse theory is: number one, there's no evidence, no scientific evidence to support it. Number two, they are resorting to blind faith and to a metaphysical principle that they cannot prove, while they are criticizing theists that we rely on blind faith. Number three, they are going against Occam's razor by postulating an infinite number of explanations rather than the one simple explanation that there is a God. Now we go on to the next point, which is that this universe that we live in, and specifically this earth, has intelligent beings, or intelligent beings, goal-oriented beings have emerged on this earth. Richard Cameron, for instance, says, the challenge to explain how human beings came to exist, and also animals and life in general, the challenge is to produce a materialistic explanation for the very first emergence of living matter from non-living matter. Because non-living matter, atoms and subatomic particles, are lifeless, they are mindless, they do not possess any of the features that we see in living matter. They are not self-reproducing, they don't have intentionality, they don't have rationality, they don't have intelligence, they are not goal-oriented. All these features of living beings, especially the higher living beings, how could those features have emerged from simple matter that has none of these features? So he says the challenge is to produce a materialistic explanation for the very emergence of living matter from non-living matter. In being alive, living matter possesses a teleological organization that is wholly absent from everything that preceded it, meaning that the non-living matter does not possess these features. Teleological means goal-oriented. Also, David Berlinski says, can the origins of a system of coded chemistry be explained in a way that makes no appeal whatsoever to the kinds of facts that we otherwise invoke to explain codes and languages, systems of communication, the impress of ordinary words on the world of matter? Basically, we know from our experience that language and coding and systems of communication can only be explained by an intelligent mind. There must be an intelligent, rational, intentional mind behind the creation of such systems, whether it's language or systems of communication or various codes. Because the genetic code itself that is in living matter, that is basically language and information, but written in a different, not written in our regular letters that we use in our regular language, but written in a different code. So this is basically encoded information. Now we have information that nobody knows where it came from. While prior to the appearance of life on this earth about 4.5 billion years ago, none of that existed. There was no living matter. So this information and systems of communications that we have between all different living beings and self-reproduction, and then the higher beings even having language, where did all this come from? Paul Davies says, life is more than just complex chemical reactions. You cannot explain these higher functions just by chemical reactions. He says, life is more than just complex chemical reactions. The cell is also an information storing, processing, and replicating system. Basically the genetic code. That's coded information that is stored, and it is being processed to form to allow for the various cell functions. And not only that, the cells are self-replicating, the cells of living beings. Where did all this come from? He says, we need to explain the origin of this information and the way in which the information processing machinery came to exist. He describes the genetic code as a set of coded instructions with a precise recipe for manufacturing protein. He's now describing the genetic code. He also says about it, they constitute semantic information. In other words, they have a specific meaning. This is what language is. It delivers and conveys a specific meaning. So he says they have a specific meaning. These instructions can be effective only in a molecular environment capable of interpreting the meaning in the genetic code. Then he says the problem of how meaningful or semantic information can emerge spontaneously from a collection of mindless molecules, meaning the matter that preceded the existence or the emergence of life. He says the problem of how meaningful or semantic information can emerge spontaneously from a collection of mindless molecules subject to blind and purposeless forces presents a deep conceptual challenge. We will conclude this video at this point, and thank you for watching.